Hey, what's up everybody? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Square Enix Play Arts Kai Master Chief. Now this isn't based directly on any version in the game, or in the games, plural. It is the Play Arts version, their envisionment, if that's a word, of Master Chief. It is technically, or at least on the package, it says it's based on the Combat Evolved version, but it's really not. It's more of a Halo 3, Halo 2 style Chief for the most part. Obviously, it's not the same. It's got a very anime flair to it. It's got the longer legs and the more dynamic proportions, I guess you could say. But it's still a really nice figure, even though it's not screen accurate, so to speak. It stands, if you have it standing straight up, stands at 9 1/4, just about 9 inches tall. So standard size for the Play Arts figures. I do not have any of the Reach ones to compare it to. Those didn't really appeal to me. Their legs seemed even longer than his do, so it looked really kind of out of balance, I guess. And to be honest, Reach wasn't my favorite Halo game out of the series. They're not that important characters, so I didn't bother getting any. I just got the Chief, which obviously is an important character. Let's talk about paint. Let's do paint first. Okay, if you look at the face, let's get the camera up there. Somebody's been messing with my tripod. Alright, so if you look at the paint app on the face there, great work. The whole body is this kind of pearlescent green, so it's got like a clear coat and some metal flake, and it really reacts to the light depending on how you hit it with the light. Hopefully that's showing up in the video. It's hard to say for sure with this intense lighting. The visor is, as you would expect, just like the McFarlane figure. It's got the pearlescent gold on there. Looks really nice. He has the blue lights on his helmet, the 4 little LED lights. 3 of them have like black dots on them. 1 does not. I don't know what's up with that, but that's the way it is. There is some battle damage throughout. A good example is right there on the cod piece, right on his waist. It's got some silver dry brushing there, or on his shins. You can kind of see that. Personally, I don't think they did a real good job with the battle damage. The dry brushing, it just looks a little cheap. To be honest, I think I could have done a little bit of a better job with the battle damage. But it's not bad by any means, so I'm not going to let that deter me from liking the figure. As a side effect of the battle damage, some of the parts are not necessarily the same color. This shoulder pad, for example, is slightly lighter than the rest of the armor for the most part. There are parts that do match it, and it's not so much off that you can really notice it right offhand, but it is slightly different. Otherwise, the paint's really good. You know, he's got the lights on his legs, which match up real nice. The little red triangles there. All of the silvers in his chest. Everything looks good. The lights on the gun look pretty nice. And then he also has his pistol. I don't like that they gave him a brown handle on the pistol. I don't think that was ever the case in the game. But it doesn't look bad, so I don't really care. It's supposed to be silver and gray, but no big deal, obviously. And then the lights on the backs of his shins, also on his calves. Very nice. Okay, let's do articulation. The head is on a double ball joint type of thing, so you can move the head around like that because it's on the bar. So it can go back farther if you want it to go back farther, or you can move it forward farther, which kind of looks silly. But whatever you need to do for the articulation, for the pose you want, you can do it basically. It's got full range of motion, great motion there. You can get some really realistic looking poses out of it. So very nice. I like to leave it a little bit just basically centered, and then you can pose it from there so that it's more realistic. But bringing it too far forward looks weird, and same thing if you go too far back. So there you go, there's that. The shoulders, now I'm going to have some trouble describing this because it's really complicated, and I might miss a point or two, but just watch what I'm doing and you'll kind of see. First of all, the shoulder pads are pivoted, so they don't really get in the way. They have a little hinge in there that they move on. while it's up, you can see that the shoulder has a standard, like Marvel Legends style ball hinge right there. So you can actually bring the arm up on that hinge individually. It's ratcheted really tight. That's the articulation right there. It does have a bicep swivel on that joint as well. And then that joint itself is on kind of a strange hinge. It has that forward moving hinge that we've seen in some Marvel Legends. And in like the NECA Street Fighter, that whole hinge that lets the arm come forward. They didn't do the best job with this because it doesn't fill it. You can only go about that far forward without it looking empty. So it doesn't really look good, in my opinion. But in that shoulder part that comes forward, there's also another joint. Hopefully you can see it in there. It's like a ball joint that this moves around on. I personally don't care for that too much, and it's really loose. It's not necessary, I don't think, but it is there. So you've got the part that moves forward, plus that ball hinge, or ball joint, plus the ball hinge here, and the bicep swivel. So he's got tons of motion in the shoulder, which is, it's pretty good, because as long as you're not looking from the back, you can't really see the gap in it, and you can get his arm to reach all the way across. And it doesn't look too bad, especially if you do some work. You're going to have to really finagle the hinge around to get it to do what you want, but it'll look pretty decent one way or another. And you should be able to do some pretty nice poses. And because of that, you can bring the rifle up to where he would have it in real life. Unlike the McFarlane figures, you can't really get the rifle up there on his, where he would be able to look right down the sights. He can pretty much do that, no problem, and you can get him to hold it pretty easily. I'm just throwing it together real quick here, but as you can see, he can bring it around pretty far. You could even go farther if you wanted to, but that's pretty good right there. As you can see, you can get him to look down it pretty well. It looks really natural, nothing out of place. So that's a really nice touch, I think. I love that. And it doesn't look too bad because you don't have to bring them too far out to get it to work. So you just pop them out a little bit there and you're good to go. The forearms, or I mean the elbows, it's just like the McFarlane articulation. It's a ball hinge, so it swivels at the top there and at the bottom of the ball hinge, and it's ratcheted. It does have some extra armor piece right there, kind of like the bodysuit that he has, to hide the ball joint from the elbow, and that just tucks in. You can see the ball joint from this side, but I mean, you're gonna have joints on a figure. What can you do? It looks good. You can't really. I mean, it's not ugly obvious. You can see it, but it's not a big deal. The wrist is the same thing as McFarlane. The double ball hinge, just like the elbow, it spins at both ends, and it has the ratchet in there. He does have a peg hole in the open hands. Actually, I'm not sure if he has one in the second open hand or not, but I know he has one in this open hand. And that's for the grenade, but he doesn't come with a grenade. The grenades only come with the Reach figures, so that's kind of a bummer. But it's not that big of a deal because who really needs a grenade? The fingers are sculpted nicely, painted nicely, individually. Very nice work there. He does have, obviously, trigger hands as well. So let me get the gun out of there so you can see that. That's what the trigger hand looks like. It holds the gun perfectly. Looks a little awkward, I know, without having the gun there, but it does work very well. And same articulation on that side. He has two trigger hands, one for each arm, and two open hands, one for each arm as well. I'm not going to bother showing you because they're the same thing. One is enough. So he has a total of 4 hands, so one interchangeable hand on each side, one extra hand on each side. I showed you the 2 guns he comes with already. They do have weapons pegs, so that those are removable from the weapon. They're really tight though in the pistol, at least mine is. I can't get it out right now, but as you can see on the rifle, the little hole there, it's not too noticeable, so I don't mind that being there. And they just peg into the spots on his thigh there, and on his back here, which has his rifle peg in it already. Hopefully you can see that. Obviously I wouldn't leave that in there normally, but I just left it in so you could see. And then of course you can peg his rifle in. Doing this on camera is not that easy. There you go. So you can just peg his rifle in just like the McFarlane figures. Looks great on there. You can have him reaching up for it. Since he's got the articulation, he can almost grab it, and doesn't look too bad. So I like that. That's pretty good. He's got the type of ball joint in the chest that the McFarlane figures have, but he has, of course, a bigger range of motion, range of movement, range of motion, whatever. So lots of movement there. I like that a lot. The torso, the lower torso is articulated on top of the leg T-joint. I guess it's really not it. Well, yeah, it's an upside down T. So there's a peg that comes down this way and then has the two ball pegs on it for the hips. And it does spin on that, but it's really, really, really stiff. So I'm not going to really be able to show you that. Well, maybe. Yeah, there you go. You can see it spins if you want it to. So that's nice. And then, like I said, the legs, it has a ball joint in there for each of the hips. And you can see that. The joints there. I gotta be careful how I word this now. The balls on his hip joints are textured. That's what that part is in there. So the legs have full motion from that ball joint there. And then this part that the ball actually snaps into rotates on the ball, but also it rotates inside the thigh. Kind of like the McFarlane figures. It's kind of hard to show you, but the thigh does rotate on top of that. So there's plenty of articulation there. And you can get them out, not too far, but far enough. I mean, you don't really need Master Chief to spread his legs any farther than that, I would say. And to keep the figure looking nice without impeding the articulation, they left the waist and the cod piece a floating piece. It's a softer rubber, so it doesn't impede the articulation at all. It looks just as good as it would if it was solid and sculpted on, but it doesn't get in the way at all. So that's a very nice touch. I'm glad they did that. The knees. Now, the knees have the same problem that the Street Fighter figures appear to have. I don't have mine yet, but they look great when they're collapsed. They're a little square on the back, so I don't care for that too much, but who cares what the back looks like. They have an articulation right here at the lower part of the knee. That's as far as it'll go, which is pretty far, and it does have the sculpted, painted armor on the top there. And that doesn't look too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad. It's kind of awkward looking. But if you use the double articulation at the top of the knee as well, it's not sculpted or painted up there, and the leg is just really unnatural looking. The knee is way too tall. There's way too much going on here. This part should be a lot narrower, and they should have maybe curved it so that it stuck forward like that, and then back in instead of being just straight. So it looks really strange. I wouldn't recommend you use both pieces of articulation in that way. It just looks kind of weird. But even if you didn't, just something like that, or even less, whatever you want to do, you still have like a 90-degree bend right there, and it doesn't look too bad. And you'll get plenty of nice poses out of it. See, you can get full range of motion with just the one joint, and it doesn't look so bad. But it's your call, it's there if you want it. I don't particularly care for it. Let's talk about the foot articulation. It's got the double jointed ball hinge, same as the wrists and the elbows. So it moves at the top of the ball, at the bottom of the ball, and it's got a ratchet in there. And also the foot has the ankle rocker. Of course, I'm not going to be able to do it right now. You can move side to side. There, that's good enough so you can see it. So full range of motion there. Really, you're not going to be able to find a way that you can't pose this guy that makes it look good. It's very easy to pose. He is a little bit heavy, and the ankle joints are a little bit loose for his weight, because it's a really solid figure. But you can still pose him fairly easily. It just, you gotta balance it, which is standard for most action figures. They always have the capability. You just have to spend some time and get it the way you want it. The fingers are rubbery, so you can get the guns in their hands. The only problem is the fingers, you probably are going to want to stick something in there to pry them over the handle for the gun, because they're going to get stuck on it. But you can usually finagle it in there without the use of a tool of some sort. Get in there. There's always one that doesn't want to go. There you go. So see, there you go. He holds the pistol really nicely. It is kind of big, but that's fine by me. And we'll get him in one quick pose. We talked about the paint. We talked about the articulation. That really covers it as far as the review goes. The rest is up to you if you like the figure or not. I do recommend you go buy it. I got mine at Big Bad Toy Store. That's a great website. 40 bucks. Can't go wrong with that, I don't think. And we'll just stand him up here for one last glamour shot. Come on, Chief. No, that's not how you hold a pistol, but it'll do for this picture. And there you have it. There is Master Chief Play Arts Kai 9-inch figure. Very, very nice figure. It's 40 bucks, but I say it is worth it because we haven't had a good Master Chief figure like this yet. Of course, we've had the 12-inch and the smaller McFarlane figures, but those just aren't anywhere near as good as this. This is an absolutely gorgeous figure. Even though it's not 100% game accurate, you'll forget that as you're playing with it or looking at it or posing it or whatever you do. It's so nice and well done that it's easily overlooked. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep an eye out for more reviews and more custom figures, and in the meantime, keep collecting.